Another day and we're jumping back into the wiring. So I've got the Volvo pump wired in to the fuse box. I'm going to work on getting the main powers, the starter and alternator wire off the Coyote moved over to the where we're all going to join them up. So as you can see, I have my two wires here. I presume the bigger one is the starter wire. I'm going to add a flat ring terminal on both of these. I have to cut the battery cable off this guy. Or battery terminal off that one. We'll get both these ready to go. We're probably going to just kind of route them just straight across. I need to make sure I stay clear of the belt drive and all that, so I may end up doing some sort of bracket off the bottom of the radiator or something to kind of help pull it this way. But we're going to end up in this area over here because that's where this guy's going to come through the fender and then where we need to connect to the O3 fuse box. Alright, so we're going to knock out all three of these at the same time. We're going to do, both of these are getting ring terminals, and then we might as well go ahead and do this guy at the same time. So I got my box of crimp-on ring terminals. That's a Amazon special purchase right there, but we're going to cut this guy approximately the same length, so somewhere about there. And then we will get this, the insulation cut back, and then I'll show you how I do the anvil. Normally I would do these on my bench vise over there, but given that we're attached to the car, we'll have to do these here instead. So we need to find the appropriate size. So there's different internal diameters of these couplers in this particular kit. So see, there's quite a bit size difference there. The other thing to look for is the diameter on the actual ring itself. So for instance, these two have the same wire diameter, but you can see one of them is much smaller on the ring. So we just need to know what we're trying to bolt to and what size we need. So we'll get one of these picked out, and we'll get the anvil set up, and then I'll try to get the camera going here. So this is the anvil set up. Now, like I said, I normally do this in a vise, just because it's easier to control how much I'm squeezing with it that way. Since I don't have the ability to do that over here, I'm going to use a C-clamp to squeeze down on this. This is designed to actually be able to be hammered on as well, so have that option. I just don't really like hammering down on the car. So I'm going to do the C-clamp. Once I get that set up, I'll show you what that looks like too. Alright, so there's my C-clamp set up. It's real important as you start to tighten down on this that you make sure the cable hasn't backed out and pulled away, because you don't want to have your crimp connection squeezed down and then find out that your cable wasn't actually being crimped on. So just keep that in mind, and maybe put a second hand on the cable to help keep it installed into the ring terminal. Alright, I got my ring terminal crimped on there. It's nice and snug. So it has a little flat spot here, and then it kind of a little harder to see, but it kind of triangle shapes the backside. So it is squeezing down quite a bit in this area, and then right in the middle. Anyways, we're gonna get a heat shrink put on this. Also came in the kit, and then we'll do the other two over there. So another downside of that C-clamp versus the vise is just the C-clamp has a much smaller handle on it, so it's a lot harder to put good quality torque down on it, but I'll survive. But I much prefer doing it in the vise when I can. Okay, so I got my 3 ring terminals done and got my heat shrink done. I went ahead and removed the coolant reservoir just so I get more space in here to work. I have a placeholder here of a bolt just to keep these 3 cables together. So I probably will end up bolting all of it onto this junction box where the fuse is for the Coyote control pack. I could technically make a little short jumper wire from here to here, but that seems really unnecessary since that's in the right spot. I do need to make a 6-inch or so wire that comes from the 03 fuse box down to the Coyote control pack, and then that should be the extent of the powers, the main power cables, and then I'll have to address the ground cable next. So we are going to dig into this is the wiring I pulled off of the original car, and we just so happen to have a short battery lead, which is actually what was connected to that box. So if I cut this guy as high up as I can and then put a ring terminal on it, I should be able to just put this straight into the car as is without modifying anything else. Also earlier I cut off the Coyote battery terminal cable. We're not going to throw this away. We're actually going to put this in the trunk on the battery because this is a nicer clamp than what came with the battery relocation kit, and I'll explain a little bit more once we get back there why we're going to use that. And the good news is, since I'm doing my little short cable, I can off the car, I can do it right here in the vise. So I got this dude crimped down, and we'll get it installed in the car. So this is going to go back on the factory battery cable connection for the jump box, or for the fuse box. And then this guy will get added to our bolt collection down here, and we should be just about done with the power cables, minus maybe securing them and building a bracket or something. Alright, so check this out. So the big ground cable I had coming up here, coming off the Coyote block, I actually found a bolt hole on the frame rail that I was planning originally on just drilling a hole in the frame and putting a bolt in it, but found a bolt hole, so that was pretty sweet. That may have actually been the factory battery ground. I'm not 100% sure on that. But we'll get the battery tray reinstalled and get some of this tidied up. So I told you before we had a plan for this. This is the original battery power cable we cut off. So battery has been relocated to the trunk, and this is the kit that it came with. The downside of this kit is there's no mega fuse on it. So if we somehow had shorted out the power wire, say 6 feet away where it runs through the car, then we burn the whole car down because there's nothing to open the fuse. There's no fuse to open. Plus, I'm not crazy about these terminals, so we will add a crimp connector for this guy, add a crimp connector for this guy, and then we'll add an inline fuse for that as well. So here's the finalization on the battery positive. So we have the factory F150 clamp going into the mega fuse, which is a 150 amp mega fuse. So this will get bolted onto our battery just like we would normally have, and then that gives us room to have the mega fuse just off the top of the battery there. So we're going to wrap up on the major powers and grounds video here, and I think we got everything covered that we needed to talk about. It's pretty self-explanatory, but if you didn't have factory donor harnesses, you would have just had to run your own powers and grounds in the same way that I did. Just instead of modifying, you just have to build them all together. So basically the same process would still apply. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching the video. I do appreciate you, and I will catch you in the next one.